please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Shireen, over to you.
Well, we're just standing by for the Finance Minister. Let's listen in.
Today, there has been, against the accused in the 2G spectrum case, a judgment of acquittal by the special judge. I wish to comment on the political aspects of this case. The Congress party leaders are treating this judgment as some kind of a badge of honor and a certification that the 2G allocation policy was an honest policy. Let us first of all recollect what the 2G spectrum allocation policy was. In the year 2007 and 8, spectrum was being given not by an auction, not by a market mechanism determining the price of 2007 and 8, but on basis of a price discovery which was made in 2001. That is, in 2007 and 8, spectrum was being allocated by the UPA government on basis of 2001 prices. Per licensee, the spectrum value was fixed at rupees 1,734 crores. That is 1,734 crores. Even within the policy implementation, there was huge element of arbitrariness. The cutoff date was advanced. The first come, first served policy was intended to serve only a selected few. Even this policy was arbitrarily changed and converted into a first come, first pay policy. And the favorite chosen few were informed in advance about the change of policy. And this is was evidence from the fact that the favorites had got bank drafts already prepared in the previous day to whom the policy had been leaked out. On basis of all this, in February 2012, the Supreme Court upheld this challenge and quashed this policy of first come, first served, or first come, first pay. So that this was a corrupt, dishonest policy has already been upheld by the Supreme Court in February 2012. Each and every case of spectrum allocation was quashed by the Supreme Court as arbitrary and unfair. The policy was quashed as unfair and intended to cause loss to Government of India. And the government was directed to have a fresh policy by which an auction would take place. And thereafter, the auctions of spectrum started. The same spectrum which was being allocated at rupees 1,734 crores to every allottee. Finally, during the NDA government, when it was subsequent spectrum was allotted by auctioning, in 2015, we got 1,10,000 crores. And in 2016, we got 65,000 crores. So the fact that the policy had caused loss is clear from the fact that the subsequent auctions got a much higher price. So what are then the facts? The policy was arbitrary and designed to promote corruption. It was implemented in an unfair manner. It was causing loss of revenue to government. And auctioning was getting much higher price. The Supreme Court verdict already, we don't have to even look at CAG report. The CAG report finally resulted in a Supreme Court verdict. We have to look at the verdict. And then we have to look at the amounts collected by subsequent auctions. Now for this entire scam, who is liable? In a criminal case, the special judge has said nobody is liable. I am sure the investigating and the prosecuting agency will look at it. These charge sheets were filed under directions of the Supreme Court during the UPA government. The prosecutors were appointed by the Supreme Court. And now that the court has said that for this entire corruption which took place, nobody is liable, I am sure the investigative agencies would have a close look at it and decide what to do further in the matter. Let us be clear. The fact that this was a corrupt policy intended to promote corruption and that it resulted in a loss already stands established, both by the Supreme Court verdict and by the fact of subsequent auctions. There is nothing in this that the Congress party should consider it as some kind of a certificate as far as they are concerned. आज जो 2G मामले में वर्डिक्ट आया है, कांग्रेस का नेतृत्व ऐसे वक्तव्य दे रहा है जैसे कोई सम्मान पत्र उसको मिल गया हो। अगर इसके पूरे वाकयात देखें,
Well, that's the Finance Minister, Arun Jaitley, there making it very clear that he believes that the fact that the accused have now been acquitted by OP Saini's special court does not mean that there was no corruption. He believes that the corruption was proved when the license cancellation was ordered by the Supreme Court in 2012, and the subsequent auctions prove that there was in fact a loss to the exchequer. But now I do have the details of the order, and it's a long, voluminous order. So let me just go to the last few paragraphs of Judge Saini's order that has acquitted the accused in the 2G scam. It says the entire case hinges upon proceeds of crime of 200 crore rupees which were generated when DB Group paid an illegal gratification of 200 crores to A. Raja, which was parked in Kalyanagar TV. However, wide my separate judgment dated today, proceeds of crime is the foundational fact for the offence of money laundering. Since there are no proceeds of crime, there can be no offence of money laundering, as nothing remains to be laundered. Thus, the very base of the instant case is gone and the alleged offence stands wiped out. Since there are no proceeds of crime, in my humble opinion, there is no need to discuss other issues based on evidence led by the parties, and that would amount to an exercise not only in speculation but also in futility, as the very basic fact required for the constitution of an offence of money laundering is that the proceeds of crime is knocked out. So that, sum and substance, is the operative part of the order. But back to the Finance Minister.
Spectrum was being given not by an auction, not by a market mechanism determining the price of 2007 and 8, but on basis of a price discovery which was made in 2001. That is, in 2007 and 8, spectrum was being allocated by the UPA government on basis of 2001 prices. Per licensee, the spectrum value was fixed at rupees 1,734 crores. That is 1734 crores. even within the policy implementation, there was huge element of arbitrariness. The cut-off date was advanced. The first come, first serve policy was intended to serve only a selected few. Even this policy was arbitrarily changed and converted into a first come, first pay policy. And the favorite chosen few were informed in advance about the change of policy. And this was evidence from the fact that the favorites had got bank drafts already prepared in the previous date to whom the policy had been leaked out. On basis of all this, in February 2012, the Supreme Court upheld this challenge and quashed this policy of first come, first serve, or first come, first pay. So that this was a corrupt, dishonest policy has already been upheld by the Supreme Court in February 2012. Each and every case of spectrum allocation was quashed by the Supreme Court as arbitrary and unfair. The policy was quashed as unfair and intended to cause loss to Government of India. And the government was directed to have a fresh policy by which an auction would take place. And thereafter the auctions of spectrum started.